NFL teams are begging for Shedeur Sanders. And Cleveland, for the first time in what feels like forever, they're saying no. Let's make one thing clear. This isn't some polite interest from desperate teams kicking the tires on a young backup. No, this is full-on quarterback panic mode. Teams like Miami, the Bengals, the Colts, and the Rams aren't just sending scouts. They're sending offers. Draft picks, swaps, future assets, sweeteners. They're trying to pry Sanders loose from Cleveland's grip, and they're not being subtle about it. But Cleveland? They're holding the line. And for once, that might be the smartest thing they've done in decades. Because here's what people outside Cleveland don't fully grasp. Shedeur Sanders is more than a quarterback to this city. He's a symbol. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. He represents something this team hasn't had since. What Bernie Kosar? Tim Couch was supposed to be it. Johnny Manziel was supposed to be it. Baker Mayfield teased it. Deshaun Watson cost a franchise its soul trying to buy it. But Shedeur? He's earned it differently. Not just with stats, though those don't lie. Over 4,000 yards. Pinpoint accuracy. Command of the field. The guy plays like a 10-year vet who's already read the scouting report on you. But it's not just what he does on the field. It's what he's done off it. In a city that's been starved for leadership, for dignity, for someone believing, Shedeur walked in and just got it. Community initiatives, youth camps, school visits, a presence in the community that goes beyond PR. People don't just respect him. They trust him. And in Cleveland, that's everything. Because this city has had its heart broken by football more times than it can count. Every time they think they've found the guy, the system fails him or he fails them, or worse, they give up too soon. And now, here comes this calm, composed, genuine leader under center, and the rest of the league thinks they can just waltz in and buy him? Not this time. Not when the 2026 QB draft class looks like a collection of shrug emojis. Not when Joe Flacco, God bless him, is still taking first-team reps like this is 2013, and we're all pretending it makes sense. Not when the locker room feels different because Shedeur is there. This isn't about stats. This is about identity. And Cleveland's front office, led by Andrew Berry, finally seemed to understand that. Look, no one's denying that some of these trade offers are juicy. First-rounders, multiple picks. Some of them reportedly included established players. Miami, in particular, is said to be willing to package talent and future capital to make the deal work. And for most teams, especially a team like Cleveland that spent years in rebuilding mode, those kind of offers are tempting. Very tempting. But Barry and Stefanski aren't blinking. Not this time. Because what's the point of stacking draft picks if you already have the guy you'd use them to draft? And not just a guy, a culture setter, a quarterback who's already become the emotional anchor of a franchise that's been drifting for years. Think about what Shedeur represents, especially to a city like Cleveland. A young black quarterback leading not just a huddle, but a community. A player with discipline, charisma, and presence. A guy who shows up, speaks clearly, competes fiercely, and acts like he wants this city to win. You don't trade that. You build around it. Now, yes, there's risk here. Let's not sugarcoat it. There's always a chance that Shedeur doesn't pan out, that his college success doesn't translate to Sundays, that he spends too long sitting behind Flacco or another placeholder and his development stalls, that Cleveland's famously dysfunctional system once again finds a way to ruin a good thing. But what's the alternative? You trade him away, watch him blow up in a city like Miami or LA, and you're stuck watching highlights of what could have been every Monday morning. Again, Cleveland's been there. Too many times. And honestly, they're over it. This feels different. The fans know it. You can feel it in the stands. You can hear it in the chants during training camp. You can read it in the comment sections and fan forums. They've latched onto Shedeur not just as a prospect, but as a hope reboot, because that's what this kid brings, a fresh start. And you don't trade a fresh start, not when it's the only thing that's kept the light on for your franchise. Let's also talk about how desperate these other teams are, because that part is wild. The Bengals? They're sweating over Burrow's durability and looking for insurance they can spin into the future if things go south. Miami? Tua's inconsistency and the team's high-pressure window are forcing them to think bigger. The Rams are staring at a post-Stafford world and wondering who the heck is next. And the Colts? They're still not sure if Anthony Richardson is going to be their guy or just the next question mark. These teams need a quarterback, but Cleveland already has one. He's sitting right there, watching, waiting. And Cleveland is finally learning the difference between waiting too long and waiting just long enough. Shedeur's still growing, still learning, but he's already shown more maturity than most of the veterans that have passed through this locker room. And for once, the Browns are choosing to wait with purpose, because they're not just developing a quarterback, they're cultivating a leader, they're protecting a culture shift, and they're telling the rest of the league, you can beg, you can offer, you can hype your trade packages all you want. We're not giving up the one thing that finally feels right. This is the pivot point. Either this gamble becomes a move that finally takes Cleveland from chaos to consistency, or it becomes the one they'll have to justify for the next 10 years if it doesn't work. But at least they're betting on something real for once. And honestly, that might be the most Cleveland thing of all. Hope. Stubborn, scrappy, unshakable hope. So what would you do? Trade Shedeur now for a haul, or hold the line and build a future around him. Drop your take in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because this is no longer about football potential. This is about a franchise learning how to believe again. Try being the Cleveland Browns in the middle of the biggest quarterback tug-of-war the league's seen in years, with half the NFL pounding on your door, offering trade packages fit for a Super Bowl MVP. And you're sitting there, holding onto a fifth-round pick like it's a national treasure. But here's the twist, they're right to, because Shedeur Sanders isn't just some overhyped rookie riding on his last name. He's not some raw arm with flashes of brilliance and nothing else. He's not just another, maybe. He is, right now, the most wanted quarterback not starting in the NFL. Let that sink in. 29 other teams passed on him multiple times in the draft. 5th round. That's where Cleveland found him. And now those same teams are circling back like, hey, about that guy you grabbed late? Mind if we borrow him? The audacity. The Rams? They're looking to replace an aging Stafford. The Colts? Still unsure if they want to tie their future to Anthony Richardson's injury history. The Dolphins? Desperate for a backup plan in case Tua takes one more hit. And the Bengals? Oh, now that Burrow's dealing with recurring injuries, they suddenly see the value in Shedeur's calm under pressure and durability. These teams aren't stupid. They know what's coming. They're not waiting around for Browns to figure it out. They see the future unfolding in real time, and they want in before it's too late. Because they know once he plays, once the Browns finally unleash Shedeur on the league, the price goes up. Way up. We're talking 2 firsts and a starter kind of up, maybe more. Because once the world sees him run a real offense, all those potential labels turn into proof. But here's where it gets spicy. Cleveland isn't budging. They're not blinking, not even flinching. Andrew Berry has made it clear. Shedeur is not for sale. Doesn't matter how many picks you stack on the table. Doesn't matter how desperate you sound on the phone. Doesn't matter if your GM sends flowers and a fruit basket. The answer is still, he's staying. And you know what? Good. Because this league has a talent problem, not a shortage. Oh no, there's plenty of it. The problem is development. The problem is trust. The problem is teams getting scared the moment a rookie QB makes a mistake and yanking him for someone safer. It's why so many promising careers get fumbled before they even start. But Cleveland, they're finally doing it right. They're sitting Shedeur not to hide him, not to punish him, but to protect him, to give him what no young Brown quarterback has had in decades. Time to learn, time to adjust, time to grow in a system that wants him to succeed, not one that feeds him to the wolves and then wonders why the offense stalled. And while it might frustrate fans who want to see him now, and trust me, they do, it's also setting up something far more important, sustainability. The Browns aren't just building a moment, they're building a movement. They see what Shedeur brings to the table, the poise, the footwork, the decision-making, but also the intangibles, the leadership, the off-the-field maturity, the way he's already rooted himself in Cleveland's culture like he's been here for years. There's a reason his jersey sold out before he even played a down. There's a reason youth football camps across Ohio have kids saying they want to throw like Shedeur. It's not hype. It's hope. And in a city that's been bruised by the game more times than it cares to count, hope isn't a buzzword. It's a currency. But hope only works if you protect it, if you nurture it. If you don't sell it to the highest bidder the second someone waves a flashy package of picks in your face. And that's what Cleveland is doing. Finally. Now, to be fair, this stance has its risks. If Shedeur stagnates, or doesn't develop as expected, or God forbid asks for a trade down the line, you're left holding a busted blueprint and a bunch of what-ifs. But ask yourself this. Would you rather risk too much belief in a quarterback or not enough? Because history is littered with teams who gave up too early, who got spooked, who sold off the one guy who could have changed their future because they were too impatient to wait it out. And right now, the Browns are choosing belief in Shedeur, in their process, in their future. For once, this franchise is acting like a team that knows what it's doing. And yeah, the offers will keep coming. They'll get louder, more aggressive. There might even be a moment where it feels too good to pass up. But you know what else feels good? Winning with the guy you developed. Watching the city rally around your quarterback. Not someone else's cast-off. Not another second-chance veteran. But the kid you drafted when no one else believed. That's what Cleveland wants. That's what Shedeur represents. And that's why the answer stays the same. No, he's not available. No, you can't have him. No, we're not interested. And no, we're not regretting it. Because in a league built on transactions, the Browns are finally choosing transformation. And maybe, just maybe, that's how you finally change a cursed legacy. Not with a trade, but with trust. The calls haven't stopped. If anything, they're multiplying. More desperate, more aggressive. GMs around the league are throwing caution, cap space, and common sense out the window, trying to get Shedeur Sanders out of Cleveland like he's the last helicopter off the quarterback island. And you know what? You can't even blame them. Because in a league where half the teams are playing musical chairs with mediocre arms, a guy like Shedeur doesn't just stand out, he glows. Composure, mechanics, accuracy, leadership, brand presence, that's not a raw prospect. That's a franchise reset button. So when you got QB rooms falling apart, Burrow's health issues, Tua's inconsistencies, Stafford aging like a carton of milk, and Richardson still learning on the job, you do what every panic mode front office does. You call the Browns. And you ask with a hint of desperation in your voice, what would it take? But here's where it gets fun. Cleveland doesn't flinch, doesn't budge, doesn't even counter. Why? Because for the first time in decades, the Browns are the ones with leverage. They hold the asset, the future, the one everyone wants. And they're choosing not to cash it in. And man, that's wild. This is a franchise known for trading down, flipping picks, and grabbing value instead of vision. They've tried the safe road before. It got them broken quarterbacks and broken spirits. But now they have something different, someone different. And they know it. Shedeur isn't just a player. He's a presence. When he walks into the locker room, veterans notice. Coaches listen. Reporters lean in. And fans? They believe again. Not because they've been told to, but because they feel it. You can't fake that kind of energy. And Cleveland knows what happens when you let that walk out the door. They've seen it before. They've lived it. Letting Shedeur go now, it wouldn't be just a bad trade. It would be a cultural betrayal. It would be waving the white flag on progress, on potential, on finally getting it right. So yeah, they're saying no. And they're saying it with their chest. But let's get into the part no one's talking about. The psychological warfare happening behind the scenes. Because these GMs calling with trade offers, they're not just negotiating. They're testing Cleveland's resolve, floating rumors, leaking reports, creating doubt. Oh, we hear Shedeur's not happy being benched. Flacco's getting the nod again. Is the kid not ready? Maybe he'd thrive more in a system like ours. That's not journalism. That's gamesmanship. They want to shake Cleveland, make them question what they know, maybe plant a little seed of doubt in the front office, or worse, in Shedeur. But Cleveland hasn't cracked. Yet, because the reality is, there's still a pressure cooker brewing under all this. The longer Shedeur rides the bench, the louder the whispers will get. Every time Flacco throws a pick, fans will chant for number 5. Every 3 and out will trigger another round of "when's the kid getting a shot?" And that's the tightrope walk the Browns are trying to master. They're not just turning down trades. They're gambling that they can control the narrative long enough for Shedeur to develop behind the scenes, without letting the public, the media, or the locker room implode from impatience. That's a bold strategy, and it requires total unity. Stefanski has to stay steady. Andrew Berry has to stay focused. The coaching staff has to keep messaging on lock. And Shedeur, he has to keep being exactly what he's been since day one, a professional. No cryptic tweets. No leaks to reporters. No passive-aggressive sideline behavior. Just work. Every day. Every snap. In practice, in film study, in meetings. And guess what? That's exactly what he's doing. And that's terrifying for the rest of the league. Because what they're seeing isn't just a talented young quarterback. It's a disciplined one. A player who knows his value, knows his window is coming, and isn't rattled by the delay. He's waiting like a veteran. And that should scare every team that hoped he was just a flashy name without the grind to match. Because if Shedeur continues to grow at this rate and eventually steps onto the field and delivers, then Cleveland just pulled off the greatest heist in recent draft memory. A 5th-round pick, passed over by everyone, developed quietly behind the scenes, only to emerge as the face of the franchise. That's not just a win. That's a movie. And if that happens, then every trade call becomes a "you had your chance" moment. But we're not there yet. And this is where the Browns have to be careful, because patience is noble, but it's also dangerous in a league that moves fast. One too many Flacco flameouts, and you risk a locker room divide. Wait too long to unleash Shedeur, and you risk wasting the energy he's building. The goal now isn't just to say he's the future. It's to show it. Strategically, gradually, but publicly. Start sprinkling in first-team reps. Let the media see it. Let the team feel it. You don't need to bench Flacco mid-season in a blaze of drama, but you do need to show momentum. Give people something to hang their belief on, because belief fades without proof. And if Cleveland waits too long, they won't just lose trade leverage. They'll lose the narrative. And once that slips, it's hard to get back. But for now, they're still holding the cards. And the rest of the league? Still circling. Still hoping. Still dialing. Because every team with a shaky quarterback situation knows the truth. The Browns already have the guy. They just haven't turned him loose yet. And when they do, that phone's going silent real fast. Because no one trades a star once he shows up. And Shedeur? He's almost there. The Browns are fully aware of what's at stake. This isn't just about holding on to a young quarterback because he's talented. This is about finally learning from a legacy of letting greatness slip through their fingers. They've done it before. Hell, they've practically written the book on it. Go ask a Browns fan how many times they watched the next guy come with hype, flash some promise, and then vanish into thin air, either traded, broken by the system, or lost in a fog of dysfunction. But this time there's a different vibe, a different energy, a slow, simmering defiance coming out of Cleveland's front office that says, "Not this time. We're not giving this one away." And that's why the refusal to trade Shedeur, despite the avalanche of offers, isn't just bold, it's personal. Because when you've been the punchline of the NFL for 2 decades, there comes a point where you stop trying to flip assets and start trying to build legacy. Something that lasts. Something you don't have to apologize for 2 seasons later. Let's be honest. It would be easy to trade Shedeur right now. Easy to take the picks. Easy to make a flashy move. Easy to convince yourself that a bird in the hand is better than a quarterback in development. But what does that actually get you? A couple of draft picks you'll have to gamble on all over again? Another temporary fix? Another chapter in the never-ending story of Cleveland kicking the can down the road? No. This time, they're daring to believe that what they have is worth more than what anyone's offering. And make no mistake, they're offering a lot. Sources close to the league have whispered about 2 first-rounders, player swaps, conditional picks. You name it. These teams aren't playing around because they see something in Shedeur that goes beyond the tape, beyond the stats. They see trajectory. They see how his game fits the modern league. Quick release, intelligent reads, smooth footwork, leadership presence. And most importantly, he doesn't flinch. Put him behind a leaky O-line in college, he still makes plays. Down double digits, doesn't panic. Media spotlight, he welcomes it. That kind of mental makeup doesn't grow on trees. And you better believe NFL scouts have noticed. So when Miami or the Rams or the Colts come calling, it's not a flyer. It's not a favor. It's an attempted heist. And the Browns? They've slammed the vault shut. Now, look, I know what you might be thinking. But what if he's not the guy? What if they're sitting on a ticking time bomb that fizzles out? Fair. Totally fair. But here's the thing. Every young quarterback is a gamble. Even the top picks. Even the can't-miss prospects. We've seen that enough times to stop pretending otherwise. But when you've got a guy with Shedeur's traits and his maturity and his charisma and his connection to the city already forming, that's not just a player you hope pans out. That's a player you build around, even if you have to be patient. And right now, Cleveland is choosing patience over panic. They're choosing process over instant gratification. And that's not just a strategy, that's a statement. Now, let's talk locker room. Because this whole situation isn't happening in a vacuum. There are veterans watching, young guys waiting, coaches trying to manage egos and expectations. And somewhere in that mix, there's a delicate balance between grooming the future and staying competitive right now. Flacco, for what it's worth, has been a model pro, a guy who's done this dance before. He knows he's not the long-term answer. He's holding the clipboard for someone else's moment. But everyone in that locker room also knows what's coming. They see Shedeur every day. They see the spiral, the footwork, the reads, the poise. And whether the coaching staff says it or not, players know when someone has it. And Shedeur, he's got it. So the Browns are playing a careful game here. Keep the vets on board. Keep the kid developing. Keep the fan base engaged without tipping their hand too early. Because here's the danger. If they bring him in too soon and it goes sideways, the media flips. The fans get nervous. The GMs who offered trades get to say, see, we dodged a bullet. But if they wait too long, they risk wasting the moment. Risk cooling off a player who's already hot property. Risk losing fan momentum. Risk watching another franchise make the big move while they're still evaluating reps. Timing is everything. And right now, Cleveland is threading a needle that could either stitch together a new identity or unravel everything they've been working to build. So what's next? Well, that's the million-dollar question. Do the Browns let Shedeur start taking first-team reps? Do they test him in late-season games that don't impact playoff positioning? Do they wait until next year and make it a full-blown changing of the guard? That depends on one thing. How long they can keep the wolves at the door. Because make no mistake, those trade calls are going to get louder, especially as teams around the league hit quarterback panic in the coming weeks. The minute a starter goes down with injury, or a team hits a 3-game skid, or a playoff hopeful realizes they're one piece away, that phone's ringing again. And this time, the offers might be too big to ignore. So Cleveland has to ask itself, is Shedeur really the future? Not potentially. Not we think so. But is he the guy you're willing to say no to 2 first-rounders for? And if the answer is yes, then you better start acting like it. Start getting him ready. Start giving the fans a taste. Start owning the fact that this is your dude, and you're going to ride with him, even if it gets bumpy. Because the only thing worse than trading away the future is sitting on it until it rots. So here we are. The offers are on the table. The league is watching. The city is waiting. And Shedeur? He's staying ready.